Hey everyone, back again. So I'm going to be talking about measuring angles and drawing angles. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about interior angles for triangles and quadrilaterals. So this is for lessons 6 and 7. Okay, now a triangle looks like this. All right, and if we measure all the interior angle or the inside angles of a triangle, it would equal 180 degrees. Okay, so to find out what a specific triangle angle might be, without measuring, we hopefully are given two angles inside the triangle. So I'm going to draw a little different triangle here. Won't do that one. We'll do this. Okay. So I need to find out what this angle is. Well, you're going to probably think, well, Mr. G, you only put one angle down, 45 degrees. But I didn't. Right here, this square tells me that this angle is 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two angles I know, 45 degrees plus 90 degrees, add them up, and I'll get 135 degrees. But that's not that value. Remember, the entire triangle is 180 degrees. So I'm going to take my 180 degrees, subtract 135 degrees from it, and I will get the value of my final angle. Okay? So add the two angles you know, add them together, and then subtract them from 180. That's what it is, straightforward. The other thing is quadrilaterals. Fancy name for four-sided shape. And all the angles in a four-sided shape equal 360 degrees. So if I have a shape like so, all right, and this angle is 110 degrees. This angle is 100 degrees. And this angle is 70 degrees. What is this one? So I've got three angles. I'm looking for the fourth. So I'm going to add 110 degrees plus 100 degrees plus 70 degrees. That equals 280 degrees. Now, like the above question, that's not the answer for this. I have to take 360 degrees and subtract 280 from it to give me 80 degrees. So my answer for that one is 80 degrees. That's that. So let's get on to measuring and drawing angles. So as a review, remember the different types of angles we have. We have the right angle, acute angle, obtuse angle, straight angle, and reflex. And grabbing my sheet of paper from here. Refer back to the first video, and you can just see the measurements to help you with identifying the angles. So we want to measure the angle, but before we get into measuring the angle, we need to identify it. Okay, so before we measure it, we need to identify it. So looking at this question, number 1, I'm looking at the angle. Here's my imaginary 90 degrees. That's less than 90, that's an acute angle. This, the square right here, tells me that that's a right angle. This, put up my imaginary 90-degree line. That's more than it. It's the obtuse angle. And then this is acute. Okay, so the reason I want you to identify what the angle is when it comes to measuring it using the protractor. Now, hopefully you guys are able to take home your mathematical instrument set, but this is the device that you only need to use in your mathematical instrument set, the protractor, okay? Now, if you do not have your protractor at home, I've included on the Google Drive a printable protractor that you will be able to print out and hopefully measure the angles, okay? But there is a trick to measuring angles, okay? So first thing you do, you find the vertex, and I'm going to use this one as an example. I'm going to put my vertex right in the middle of my protractor. Now the next thing is, you see that dark black line they're using. I need to line it up with the bottom line here of my protractor, and it's marking off at 0, 180. So I need it to be in perfect line there. Now I follow my other ray and I look, and I have 2 measurements. I have 130 and 50 degrees. So I've got 130 degrees or 50 degrees. Well, you got to pick one. But which do I pick? I don't know. Oh, should I guess? You could. But there's no need to guess. We identify this angle. What type of angle is this? Use my imaginary line. Okay, this is 90. This means it's greater than 90 degrees. So, which number is greater than 90 degrees? 130 or 50? Well, 50 is less than 90. 130 is more. So this makes it a obtuse angle with a measure of 130 degrees. So using a protractor, you're going to have 2 answers every time you use it. So that's why you need to identify what type angle this is, okay? Let's measure this one. Nope, sorry. We'll leave that for later. Let's measure this one. Do not do this, ladies and gentlemen of grade 6, because you're not going to get the right answer. Remember, I said one of the bottom lines has to line up with the 0. Well, how do I do that? Well, lo and behold, paper can move. So I'm going to move it so that I can measure with my vertex right in the middle and the bottom ray on 0. And I see this lines up at about 45 degrees or 135. So I can put it back. So this is going to be 135 degrees or 45 degrees. So which do I pick? Again, I could guess, but there's no need to. I identify this type of angle, and it's an acute angle. It's smaller than 90 degrees. So is it 135, which is more than 90 degrees? Nope. It's 45 degrees, making this angle and acute angle. Now, looking at your protractor, and this one I don't have to zoom in as much, look at the way the numbers are going. Okay, you're starting from 0, you're moving up to 90. Then you go past 90 into 180. So when you're looking at the measurements, look at the numbers they are in between, because they won't land perfectly on 30 or 150. They might be in between. So always look at the way the numbers are going and pick your number accordingly. All right, gonna do 2 more examples and then we'll get into drawing. So this is a little bit easier. All the angles are nice, not turned around all kinds of weird ways. So in your mind, the first thing I need you to do, because we're measuring the angles, we're not just identifying it, but I want you to identify what type of angle this is. Okay, so I'm gonna use my imaginary 90-degree mark, and I look at this angle. Here's the arc telling me which angle I'm measuring, and it is less than 90 degrees. So in my head, I know this is an acute angle. Now it's time to measure. Okay, that's like a little scope. So make sure your vertex is in the middle. Make sure your bottom ray is lined up with the 0. And then we look at the second mark, and it's between 40 and 50, right at 45. Now, I'm not looking at between 130 and 140 because I already have identified an acute angle. This is less than 90, so my measurement will be 45 degrees. Do not forget the degree symbol. That's an important marker of information. Okay, let's take a peek at 3. Now, you don't have to put the dotted line. You can just look at the angle and I see, yep, that's more than 90 degrees, making it an obtuse angle. So now I'm gonna measure. Put the real round part in the middle there. Make sure my bottom ray is on 0. And this one, let's just say, because it's an obtuse angle, it's gonna be the larger number, 120 degrees. There we go. Number 6. Well, you're probably wondering, why did I just put 90? I didn't use the protractor, I didn't measure, come on. Well, look at the symbol. Right, I'll use my highlighter, right there. It's that square, and that square tells me it's a 90-degree angle. I don't have to measure, universal symbol, I put it down. And that's measuring angles, okay? Very, 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 very quickly, we're gonna learn how to draw angles. And say I wanna draw a 60-degree angle. In my brain, I'm thinking, what type of angle is 60 degrees? It's less than 90, and an angle that's less than 90 is called an acute angle. So I have to draw a 60-degree angle. So first of all, I'm gonna start with a straight line. Okay. That's my ray. And I need to make it 60 degrees. So I need my protractor again. And I make sure my bottom is at 0, my bottom ray. I'm in the middle. And now I need to make a 60-degree angle. Well, I see a 60 here, so I'm gonna put a little ticky. But I also see a 60 here. So I'm gonna put a ticky here as well. Okay, so this is my vertex. And I need to do an acute angle of 60 degrees. So if I go and connect with this line, boy, that looks like it's going to be a lot bigger than 90 degrees. Let me take a look at this 60. Oh, look at that. That one looks good. Yeah, that's an acute angle. Ta-da! Now say I want to do a 130 degree angle. Okay, you are thinking in your mind, what type of angle is 130 degrees? Well, that is an obtuse angle. So doing all this, like I said, it's got so many things going on, and I know you guys can do it because you play video games, like I said in the other video, or maybe it was this one. So many things are happening at once. You can process this stuff. So I need an obtuse angle of 130 degrees. So I line up my 0. There's my vertex point, and I have 130 here. And I have 130 here. So right at this vertex point is where my angle is going to be. So let's look at, because we went this way for that one, that might be the answer again. But if I look here, that sure does not look like an obtuse angle to me. That looks acute. Let's try it this way. Aha, that looks right. There's my obtuse angle. Okay, so you start off, when you're drawing an angle, start off with a straight line, pick an endpoint, and then pick a vertex. So you can draw them this way. That just means that right over here will be your vertex, and that's where you measure. And whatever angle you want to do. So if I want to do 90, there. And that's angles. So, boy, we have another thrilling roller coaster ride of an 18-minute math video on measuring angles, drawing angles, and finding the interior measurements of angles. So, that's it. Enjoy.